All right, a very big welcome to all our attendees. Webinar Wednesday is back in 2024, and as many of us know, it's been a huge success over the past few years. Born during the early stages, of course, of COVID, but it became so popular that we've kept this alive, and our topics have ranged from funding to online presence to trademarks, and always well received. And what's nice about Webinar Wednesday, and we're really grateful for and proud of, is that it's one of the biggest and most well attended webinar series globally. So from that perspective, it allows us to be enthusiastic to keep this going. And everyone, yes, please tell us where you are, where you're from, and of course, importantly, if you've got any questions throughout the event this morning, please pop them into the chat. And of course, if we don't get to your questions, because sometimes the chat is pretty fast, we can't attend it, please pop an email to us afterwards. Alicia put her email address into the chat. Just email Alicia at nsbc.africa, and we'll get these questions answered for you. Well done, guys. Veronica, good morning. Ronaldo, good morning. Fengsi, good morning. Nice to see you guys. And it's always nice to see familiar names coming back to Webinar Wednesday. And not only to Webinar Wednesday, but of course, to all the events that we do throughout the year. And NSBC, we're excited about this year. It's going to be a big year. Last year was fantastic. Big events coming up. And as you know, you all receive our communication, because that's why you're here this morning. And stay close to us and enjoy the year with us, but importantly, enjoy this morning. But before I call our guest speaker onto stage, I just want to give you insight about the topic. Of course, our speaker, Adam Walker, and then, of course, we will get straight into it. But importantly, a little bit of something that we've always got to mention. If for whatever reason technology fails us, please don't leave us. We'll be back. It hasn't often happened, and in fact, I don't think it has happened. If you lose me or you lose Adam, we'll be back. So, Debbie, thanks for that. Always love these positive comments. Tata, good to see you from Cape Town. So, keep the conversation going. Be positive. Tell us how excited you are about the year, about this webinar this morning. Put your great comments in, and as I said, if you've got any questions, please pop them into the chat. But let's get into it. The topic this morning is removing the e-commerce fear. Jeepers, how has that phrase e-commerce become so huge over the past few years? But removing the e-commerce fear, and all powered by digital on demand. And of course, this morning's guest speaker, who I'll be interviewing in an interactive Q&A, is Adam Walker, who's the CEO of Saleslogic. But before I call Adam on, let me just give you a little bit about Adam himself. Adam Walker has been in various roles in IT for over 25 years and has been instrumental in providing digital solutions to businesses to ensure lowered cost of administration, increased revenue, and heightened visibility in terms of their data. Having worked around the world and consulted to organizations large and small, Adam has amassed a wealth of knowledge in many industry verticals. So without further ado, Adam, please join me on stage.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Adam. Good to see you. Yeah, thanks so much for taking out your precious time to be with us this morning. I know that SME decision makers and these owners of small and medium enterprises are certainly looking forward to the insights this morning. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mike. Absolute pleasure to be here, and welcome to everybody that's joined so far. It's good to see a whole bunch of local South Africans popping in from all over the length and breadth of South Africa. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Adam, what's quite interesting about Webinar Wednesday, we get attendees from New York City, from Singapore, from all over the world. And as we all know, whether you're running a business in South Africa or in Canada or in Australia, the principles of success are always the same. So thank you for joining in. And it's a big topic this morning. It's a big phrase, and there's a lot of fear behind the phrase e-commerce. If it's a word or a phrase, we can combine those two. So I look forward. I've got a couple of questions here that's been put forward to me, Adam. I'm going to get straight into it. But guys, if you've got any questions for Adam or for myself, please don't ask me IT questions. I'm not going to be able to give you that intellectual answer, but I know Adam will certainly be able to do that. Good morning, Barry from Durban. I was born in Durban, Barry. Love going back there. First question, of course, here it is. Adam, what is e-commerce?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think e-commerce, a lot of people look at it traditionally to say, well, it's something to do with the web. And it's in essence basically buying and selling commodities and goods and services across the internet. That is what it is pretty much at its core. And I think it's kind of grown, the whole gravitas around e-commerce has grown so much. Obviously, since COVID hit us, we couldn't go out, we couldn't engage face-to-face with product, services, people, etc. We were kind of confined to our gardens and running around and trying to keep fit, etc. So the boom of e-commerce really started at that point where people started to engage a lot more in internet. And that penetration in the internet helped, I suppose, in South Africa, definitely, because of the mobile accessibility to data and accessibility to internet. People then started to sort of browse and started to consume the only way they could purchase at that time, which was through e-commerce channels. So it is buying and selling of goods over the internet, but you can look at that across a whole wide variety of different places that you can do that. You can have a website that you are the custodian and own, and that can be www.mikeanderson.co.za, where you sell your products and services. Equally, it can be through other bubbling up and becoming a lot more conventional places like Facebook, Google Shopping, these different portals where you can equally sell your commodities and services online. The great thing about that is it's active 24/7. It's there and it's ever trading. So the concept of sort of you making money when you're sleeping has become a lot more prevalent. And in that space, it services different business needs. It's business to business trade. It's business to consumer. It even can be the other way around. It can be consumer to business. It can be consumer to consumer. And that started to tap into each different industry sector. And people are starting to see it from not just I have a product and it's a physical touch and feel thing. It can also be in terms of services. So e-commerce is really a digital platform that allows you to trade effectively over the internet 24/7.
Okay, and I know talking to many delegates over the years, Adam, and people have got this idea. Look, it can be expensive, and then again, it can be extremely cost effective. And I've got a question coming through on my WhatsApp. To have an e-commerce business, is it hugely expensive, or could I start small, Adam?
I think that's just to gazump some of that fear, and that's kind of the reason why we're here. You don't have to go big. And I think the best thing is to dip the toe in the water, so to speak. It's about entry point into the market. You could have a bricks and mortar store and you're looking to diversify and digitize that sales channel, or you're just looking to unlock a new sales channel, or you're starting a business from scratch and you're looking for a very low cost entry without bricks and mortar. And it does not have to be expensive. To your point, Mike, you can start with just a few products. You can test the water, and I call it fail fast. You can look to drive other areas of your business. So if you do have a storefront where people walk in and you want to test particular product lines and get some sentiment back from the consumer, an e-commerce store is a great way to go. And just addressing your question around cost, when you start out, typically these environments from an e-commerce perspective scale as you scale and get larger. From an entry point, it's very, very, very cost effective to start the process. And I think that's one of the main fears is it's, oh my goodness, I can't go there because it's just going to be so expensive to even get the plane off the runway. And it really, really isn't.
And I would imagine, if you think about it, as you say, you can start off very cost effectively, and it's much more less riskier than opening up your store with a 5-year lease with personal sureties and not knowing if it's really going to work. So it's a great way to begin. And of course, so thank you for that insight. Now, Adam, what are the benefits of e-commerce in the modern world?
I've touched on a couple of them already. So the convenience for consumers to shop anytime, anywhere, and pretty much on any device. We've seen such a massive growth in terms of the adoption of mobile devices to browse, and a lot of people are sort of on the road and not sitting behind a PC or laptop 24/7. So the ability to just shop anytime on a mobile device, and we've seen probably over the last few years since COVID, that 70% of e-commerce purchases have been made through mobile devices. So the benefit there is to serve that experience through onto any form factor 24/7. The other benefits, you can see yourself testing products, allowing consumers to look at your products and compare them to other people. That's naturally, it's one of those buying behaviors that we see quite often. It opens broad markets. If you are sitting in Bryanston, where I know one of our guests on the webinar is located, and if you've got a physical store, your geographical catchment area is really just around that sort of 10, 15K radius around your store. Now you're opening up a much broader market. You're opening it to the whole of Joburg, the whole of South Africa, even cross-border. So it's really not limiting you to a geographical location. To your point that you made just now, definitely there's a lower cost in physical stores. You don't have to look at infrastructure. You don't have to look at sort of gondolas, a mass upfront of product purchase. You can look at different options like dropshipping, where you don't have to hold physical stock and product and outlay that capital. If you've got a physical storefront and you want to scale and you want to grow your business, you've got to sort of knock down some walls and grow that capacity. With an e-commerce, it scales very easily. You can add as many products as you want into that space. Mm-hmm. And one of the lovely things that I think is of huge benefit is that direct communication with your customers through social media, through online chats, through WhatsApp, through email. You can start to understand your customer a lot more, because digitally you've got those insights. And to those insights, you can start to harness, where are my customers coming from? What are they searching? What's the sentiment around the buying behavior of that customer? And those insights are effectively natively there within those platforms that you consume. So there's so many benefits of e-commerce, and I think I've only just touched on a few of them, but hopefully it's given a little bit of thought there to the greater benefit of what it can provide.
Yeah, and I think that's the intention here, isn't it? Just to change the mindset and to help people kickstart. Now, another question that's come through. Adam, many businesses who sell products through the traditional bricks and mortar method are cynical about e-commerce, do not know where to start, or are simply intimidated by it. Can we unpack some of the building blocks of an e-commerce store and where businesses should start this journey, or where the business owner should start this journey?
I think the fear is that first step, and everybody's at a different sort of milestone or chapter in their lives in terms of adopting e-commerce. If traditionally you've been running a bricks and mortar store for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, or if it's been in the family for a long time, it's become a tradition, and it's become something which is just ingrained in terms of how you run your business from a process perspective. So stepping out of that is difficult sometimes. And I think the fear is just taking the first step. People are fearful of e-commerce because it's a technical or digitized space, and they say, "Oh, I don't know anything about technology, so that I wouldn't know where to start." I think it's important to partner with the right vendor, and that vendor will take you through sort of gazumping the technical fear there, because they will take care of it, and they won't sort of throw too much jargon your way. They will just say, "This is what we require of you to build your online store. We will take care of absolutely everything." And having the correct sort of project methodologies in place to take the people on that journey to get a full turnkey solution, I think is key. Start small. I think that's one of the biggest thing I tell my customers is you don't have to have a fully polished diamond before you launch it onto the digital workspace. You need to start small. Take some of your faster moving goods, things where there's a natural sell and it's not something where you really have to try too hard. Bring those into that e-commerce space. Make the buying experience simple. People don't like clutter. People don't like they want that instant gratifications. They want to engage, consume, make a decision, and then they want to click all the way through to purchase. So make it quick, make it simple, make it effective. Lay out the store in a very nice, easy to look at and easy to read manner. Plan your shipping strategies well. Everybody loves something for free, and I tell you, one of the big things that people hate is having to pay for shipping, and unfortunately it is one of those real things in the e-commerce world. But look at your profit margins on your products and say, well, do you know what, in order for me to stimulate a quicker decision to buy, offer free shipping, maybe for orders that are above a certain value. That suddenly changes the mindset, and it does certain things like upsell and cross-sell. Because let's say you offer free shipping for orders over 500 Rand. If somebody's sitting with a basket of 490, they'll consume something else just to get over the 500 Rand mark. So, it's just a bit of a psychological play there. So I think just my biggest takeaway from that is start. It's the most important thing is to start. Once you've got that space in the digital e-commerce world, you can grow it and you can put some cadence behind really driving that adoption. I think that would be my sort of takeaways from that.
Adam, there's a question on the chat there. I'm sure you can see it from Caletso. Dropshipping is working. How dropshipping is working by shipping without holding goods physically.
So dropshipping it's a concept where you're engaging directly with your B2B upline wholesaler or distributor, and you're selling products on their behalf, but you're not physically holding product. And now dropshipping can take on a wide variety of guises. You could have a fully integrated platform where any order consumed or placed on your portal is automatically integrated to be fulfilled from that distributor. Alternatively, there could be a manual step through that. But we've seen a lot of uptake in terms of drop shipping, where you need to make sure that your upline wholesaler or distributor supports drop shipping, because one of the biggest fears there is that if I sell something and my upline distributor doesn't have it in stock, I'm going to suffer some consumer damage or reputational damage down line. So it is a great concept, and a lot of people are getting into the market from a drop shipping perspective. But I think there you've got to really understand that digital process very, very well. It's not like I've got a product and I know I've got one in store, and if it gets purchased, I can fulfill the need. There's a lot more thinking behind that.
And another question coming through. I know you've touched on this quite a lot, but if you can add to it, but I'll combine it with another question. The real benefits of having an e-commerce store. So if you want to add anything more to that, and then finally, in your experience, what are some of the major pitfalls which customers fall into in creating and managing the e-commerce store?
Yeah, I suppose I've got to be a bit careful in how I phrase the pitfalls, because I don't want to create more fear. I think we're trying to sort of gazump it and remove the fear, but those pitfalls are real. So to get past those pitfalls, if we just look at the real benefits, it definitely is about extending your market reach. It's about offering your products to a much wider audience. If you've adopted a strategy of going digital over going bricks and mortar, you're definitely looking at benefits of reducing overheads. Adaptability and scalability, I think those are very, very important. You can change products very quickly. You can incorporate new products very quickly. You can create combinations. You can link products together where it creates a sort of a basket of items that are linked together. And if we just look at sort of the behavior of consumers, I think in 2014 there was about And it was a global study of $1.3 trillion spent on e-commerce. Now, the projection and that trajectory is now estimated to be $7 trillion in 2025. So I think the benefit there is that a lot of international consumers, that's a global study, but even if you just look at the emerging markets such as Asia and Africa as well, the growth trajectory may not be as big because I think we're a little bit behind the curve in terms of the adoption of e-commerce, but it has accelerated greatly since COVID. So I think that the benefit there is also about consumers' value in e-commerce and their trust in e-commerce. So if you've got the right digital footprint and it's very, very appealing and it really breeds that confidence, and confidence can be where you explain your business a lot to the consumer. So I can't stress enough about an About Us page, about saying we've got returns policies, we've got privacy policies, we've got terms and conditions that govern the protection of the consumer. And in South Africa, we always have to be aware of POPI and the Consumer Protection Act, and consumers want to know that they're heard when it comes to their protection. So if we've all got that in a little perfect little bow, I think the benefit is that trust in your e-commerce store. And some of those pitfalls, I think it's about the user experience. So it's really about how we embrace that consumer. I have touched on this a little bit before. Don't overcomplicate your store. Make it very easy and quick and simple to engage with. We talked about mobile devices, and 60 to 70% of the consumption through e-commerce storefronts is done on a mobile device. So the responsiveness, and responsive is really just how that site adapts to a laptop, desktop, large form factor, a mobile device, a tablet. It needs to be optimized for those environments. And then customer service, Mark, one of those things I can't stress enough. You don't exist without your customer. You don't exist without that consumer. So you need to make them feel really loved when they come to your store. And they've chosen your store over your competitor. So you can't communicate enough with your consumer. Ask them what they enjoyed about your store. Ask them what you can do to make it better. And if they had a good experience, they'll tell you. If they had a bad experience, they'll tell you. I'd say partner with reputable gateways as well. So you need to make sure that payments are a very easy process. You don't want people to be lost at the time of payment. And I had a couple of customers who voiced not a complaint, but just a concern where some payment gateways kind of got you to log on to your bank, and it did what's called an instant EFT payment. And it's a very secure and it's a very well adopted payment process globally. But in South Africa, they said, but hang on a second, I've got to put in my username and password to my bank, and I'm going to fail that point, and I'm going to backtrack and not consume. So as much as you've got that option, I would add a second one so that that person has that ability to make the decision into which one they feel they trust. So have at least one, or have at least two, I'd say, payment gateways. In terms of delivery, make sure you've got a reputable delivery company. Make sure that they've got some uptime guarantees and delivery guarantees that stand behind them. Make sure that they've got tracking portals where you can tell your customers, this is your tracking number, and you can follow your product wherever it goes to the point of it being dropped at your door. Keep your site fresh. Don't overcomplicate it. Ensure it's got rich content about your business. I've touched on that before. And then market your site. And one of the biggest pitfalls, I think the biggest pitfall, is I've created an e-commerce store and I've pushed it out into the world. And now I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait for the sort of manna to rain from heaven. It doesn't work that way. You've got to push and market that business. And you can do that in a variety of ways. You can push it through social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. You can push it through Google itself. You can do Google Shopping. You can do Google Ads. So your investment is not just in your e-commerce. I almost, to a certain degree, say it's even more in the marketing, because if you don't tell people about your store, nobody's going to come to your store. So that's where you need to really push your focus.
Now, Adam, if let's say questions coming through on this. Now, Mike Anderson wants to start the process of creating an store today, e-commerce store today. Is there a recommended a destination or a website to go to or a person to contact to start the process? Because there's many options, I would imagine, out there, and that's confusing, and business owners don't quite know where to go to start this process. Is there a recommendation there, Adam, from your side?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of platforms out there, and Saleslogic is just one of those platforms, and we welcome any questions to come our way on that journey. But there's a ton of different platforms out there. There's Wix, there's Woo, there's WordPress, there's Shopify, there's Magento, there's a number of different areas out there. So I would recommend doing a little bit of research, understanding how big you want to grow that market and that e-commerce space. And if it's important to you, especially for our South African audience, possibly look for a local vendor, because you can always pick up the phone call. It's the same time zone. You can WhatsApp your vendor and you can engage with them quite quickly.
Adam, there's a lot to think about. That was certainly insightful. It was packed, and I really enjoyed it. I've got some new ideas around, of course, e-commerce stores and e-commerce in general. But please, if anybody out there has got any questions or would like to get in touch with Adam, please just email Alicia@nsbc.africa. I know that you've all got Alicia's email address, so just email Alicia@nsbc.africa and she'll point you in the right direction. But Adam, Walker, to you, thank you very much for taking your time out, and to, of course, Digital on Demand, thank you for putting this together. Truly grateful for your efforts in what you do for SME South Africa. So, and to all our attendees, without you, we can't do what we do. Stay close to us. We've got exciting webinar series coming up. We look forward to ongoing hosting you at these various, of course, online events. And of course, our physical events are coming up as well. So please don't miss out on that. So to all our attendees, thank you very much. And Adam, again, thank you. We see you next time. All the very best.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the attendance. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.